I just woke up. I've been asleep. So this video isn't going to make much sense because it's literally, I just woke up. Sorry about that. Also, I'm wearing a Gryffindor shirt today. I'm kind of feeling the Gryffindor pride. But I'm a Ravenclaw. So, oops. I have to say, I am a big fan of the fact that Harry Potter merchandise is for some reason coming back into fashion and you can just pick it up in any random high street shop. But it's almost all Gryffindor stuff, and you're really limiting our options here for the poor little Ravenclaws in the world, and also the Hufflepuffs and Slytherins. Like, seriously guys, get on that. Anyway, so, last night, I went to see the Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1, and oh my god, like, I'm the kind of person who after every single movie that I go to see ever at the cinema, I will then go, that is the best movie I've ever seen. But I genuinely feel like this was one of the best movies I've ever seen. So I have a list here of all the things I'm going to say about this movie, because if I were to just start talking about how I felt without any kind of structure, we would be here for days of me just rambling, because we've all seen that happen before and it's not very sensical. Is sensical even a word? Okay, so the first thing I'm going to say is that the representation in the movie was great, because I personally look out for this kind of stuff quite a lot. I mean, they finally added in the AVOXs, because AVOXs are important, and they finally added it in the AVOXs, and we had, you know, Katniss with PTSD and it was handled really well, and we had Beatty in a wheelchair, and we had the AVOX who was unable to speak, and we had all of them, like, really prominent and obvious, and the AVOX was talking with sign language and stuff. It was great. Also in terms of racial representation, and I know that the Hunger Games has always been kind of walking the tightrope with that because they made Rue black and they got in trouble with that and all of that kind of stuff, and this time they were just like, you know what, just go for it, and they did, and it was great. It was fabulous. It was amazing. Also, I think that the movie almost got the themes better than the book, or maybe that's because when I read the book I was about 13 and wasn't really reading critically, but certainly it was very obvious kind of the sinister part of it. Like, Katniss goes from being kind of a propaganda puppet for the Capitol to basically becoming exactly the same in District 13, and it was made pretty obvious, which is great because I didn't pick up on it the first time I read the book. And there's a bit where they're making all of these propaganda videos and they show them in District 13 and it's Katniss yelling, being angry and all that stuff. And then the flame just comes in and then the Mockingjay symbol comes up and it plays the whistle and then the text comes up and it's exactly the same as the advertising for the movie has been ever since the first movie came out. And I'm like, oh my god guys, you are so self-aware. I think that the marketing for the Hunger Games has been really good because they have made themselves propaganda. Like, they've made themselves the Capitol and now they're kind of making themselves the rebellion, and it's really interesting and I think it works really well. Also, I genuinely felt sorry for Peeta, which is something that didn't happen the first time I read the book, but also, like I said, that's because I read the book when I was pretty young. But yeah, like, when you saw Peeta, every single time you saw him on the Capitol TV, he was just like more worn down, skinnier, he had bruises on his face, and genuinely I wanted to just reach out into the cinema screen and then reach further through the cinema screen through to the Capitol screen and pull him out through both screens and give him a hug. Also, I know I said in my last video that the media was people are doing things outside my bedroom, it's noisy, I'm trying to film a video, oh my god. Also, I know I said in my last video that the media were focusing too much on who was attractive and not enough on the actual, like, message and the, like, rebellion and terrible social commentary that's going on here. But can we just take a moment to focus on Natalie Dormer in a tank top, because I just feel like we should talk about that. Another thing, which is something that hit me almost straight away, is that despite this film coming out years and years after the first one, Katniss looks the youngest she has ever looked. One of my biggest criticisms of the movies is the fact that they cast people who were much older than the characters were, and you didn't quite fully get the fact that they were children being forced to do all this stuff. But there were certain scenes where Katniss genuinely looked like a 16 or 17-year-old girl, and it was really chilling. I don't know how they managed to do that, because obviously Jennifer Lawrence is older than she has ever been in the other two movies, but somehow they did it, and it worked really well, and it was really like, oh my god. There is one thing, my biggest criticism of this, is that Finnick gives a speech to the Capitol, while they're rescuing Peeta, basically to draw their attention away and do some technical wizardry that only BT understands. And he's talking about all of this terrible stuff that happened to him. He's talking about the fact that the Capitol basically forced him into prostitution and abused him. And it's awful. But because they were rescuing Peeta at the same time, all of that was kind of just background noise, and Peeta was the main focus, and it was like big swelling like battle music and all of that stuff. Meanwhile he's talking about all this terrible stuff, and it breaks my heart, and I feel like the movie should have given slightly more to that, because it's absolutely awful. Also, just the Hunger Games in general is a very important thing. Like, here we have Katniss Everdeen, who, despite what the casting directors and movie producers may think, is an aromantic, asexual woman of colour with PTSD who is partially deaf. And I feel like we should talk about that because that's very, very important. Like, how many young children are going to be watching that and thinking, yo, you're awesome, I want to be like Katniss. Like, doesn't even matter about the gender. Any young person should see Katniss as a role model, and I think it's so great that we're finally seeing somebody like that on the TV, on the cinema thing, and oh, it's important. Also the fact that, you know, a movie's kind of come out that's all about corrupt governments and rebellion and all of that stuff, while a lot of that stuff is happening right now in our world. Speaking of which, the hashtag MyHungerGames campaign is still going on with the Harry Potter Alliance. I talked about it in my last video, but if you didn't watch that and you just wanted to hear because you like the Hunger Games, that's a thing, because they are tackling the real life issues that the Hunger Games talks about. Because, you know, we may not be forcing kids to kill each other in an arena, but there's still some pretty messed up stuff going on, and they are doing all they can to try and highlight that. So you should check out the links with Thing and do the thing with the thing, because I said so. But yeah, seriously, Mockingjay was I'm not even gonna lie, my least favourite book. I thought it was too political at the time, but now that I see it as a movie, I'm like, oh my god, it's my favourite movie, it's so political. You should just go see this movie, okay? I don't even care if you haven't seen the other two, or if you haven't read the books, or if you didn't like them, or if you don't like Jennifer Lawrence. You should go see the movie, because this movie is so important. You should definitely watch it. And that's all I have to say today. We'll see you in another day when I say another thing. So, goodbye. Later.